Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome back to the channel once again. And if it is your first time here, my name is Gigo, and today we are back at the apartment project. And currently, we are busy with the second phase of the decking. We already did the first one, which is on your left hand side, and now we are taking off the wood and installing them at the right hand side to save cost. Better to do stage by stage than put much pressure on the client, to do everything at once and misuse all the woods. I'm not going to bore you in today's episode because we've done this so many times and I don't want to keep repeating myself in every episode because we're doing the same thing. You can check in my previous videos if you want to know more knowledge about decking. I have other projects that we've done completion almost completed with the structure, so you can check in those projects, the Tama project, the Pram Pram project in the beach side, and also the hillside project. We've done all of those things, so I want to use this video as a motivational video to share my experience in the building journey. So if you are ready for today's episode, then kindly please do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. So today's topic is about who can build a house or buy a house or even an apartment. The thing is, we all want to build our dream homes or invest, back home. We just want to build something back home. But the fact is, it's not all of us who are builders or buyers. Some people are born to build, others are also born to buy and or even sell. That's why you have some people that have the money but they struggle to build, a house, and others, have less money but they can really do much with the little they have. They can build with the little they have. So I hope by the end of today's episode you have a clear mind of where you stand and the risks involved. And I believe with a good strategy you can buy, build, and sell. So let's say you want to build a house, and the first thing you need is a cost estimate of the whole project. Just to get an idea what you are getting yourself into. So I think at most you should just look at from foundation to the roofing and then plastering. So that's going to be the first thing that you really have to know this. You have to know about the cost estimate. The second thing that you have to know is about your cash flow. That this is very important. This is the key. Your cash flow is very important. And why do I say that? So I think and I believe that the duration of building, should be from 6 months to 5 years. This is just a normal range where you can build your house. If you have a good flow, maximum till 7 years, you should at least roof and do the plastering. At least. The finishing comes later. The finishing, you can take your time to do it whenever you want. But I mean the structure, because you have to protect the structure whilst you are building. The main aim here is that you don't abandon your building in the bush. That is what we are trying to prevent here. That you're going to start something that you cannot complete, and then, later it's going to turn back as a cost. And you have to break some stuff before you continue. That's why you have some projects, they leave it for 10 years, 15 years. And before you go to continue with the building, you have to break, almost everything and start afresh. And that's extra cost. That's why I'm saying that the cash flow is very, very important. So this is the point. The thing is, you have to look at yourself, your income, your cash flow. Can you build a structure, just the superstructure, with your cash flow from 6 months to 5 years or 7 years maximum? Can your cash flow do that job after knowing the total cost estimate? So the moment you know the total cost estimate and you just do your calculation, and this will tell you whether you can do it or not. Because one thing that I have realized or I have noticed is that every 5 to 6 years there is a pivot, in the system. It could be change of power, It could be a pandemic or economic breakdown, which might affect your flow of income, your job, or some people will gain money, out of those things, and some people will also lose money. So let's look at the point where you can lose money, and that might affect your project and you cannot continue. During this process you are building, some family members who may pass away, some may get sick, you have to help someone, or you might even have an accident where you will need money to assist or to solve some issue. And during the building process, anything that you've put in is not coming back until you are completely done and you've moved in. And if you are renting it out, that's when you start to make money. If you are living in, that's where you don't pay rent anymore, so you can save your rentals. So that's why we have to pay attention to the duration, like the cash flow, that during this 6 months to 7 months or 5 months, can we still put the same amount of money we are investing in our project? Can we do that? To get a structure done, and then we can have a big break, a big pause. If you think you cannot continue anymore, the moment you have the structure plastered, you can also sell it, and that's where you become the seller. You can decide to sell it and use the money to solve your issues, or if there's cash flow is there, you continue with your project. So it's very important you know the cost estimate, and then you check your cash flow, how much you are earning every month. Then you know how much you can invest in. I've done a video where I shared just a general idea of cost breakdown of how you can build a house with a little of like maybe $200 a month. You can check in my previous videos, it's right there. It gives a general idea of how to tackle such things. The biggest regret you may have as a builder is that you get stuck on the way and you cannot get your money back, and you cannot put your money in. That will stress you a lot. That will stress you a lot, and it even force people to even sell the property so cheap, and at the end they make a loss. They regret getting themselves into this just because they didn't factor out the cash flow, the duration of it. So what is the alternative? Let's say you did your checks, the cost estimate, and within 5 to 6 years, between 5 months to 5 years, you cannot build with your cash flow. What do you do? So the alternative is that you spend the time of looking for architect and looking for contractor. You spend that time in looking for good land to buy, to invest. You invest into land. You make sure the documents are very good. You register the land. You have them in your possession. You secure it by just a draft wall or just the four corners. That's a very good investment, because within that 6 months to 7 years where you are struggling to put up with your structure, which you cannot complete because your income doesn't really support it, if you invest that little money into buy lands in an area where you think it will be developed in the next 5 to 7 years, you can buy a lot. Maybe every year or every 2 years you buy a piece of land. Just imagine after 7 years how many lands you have, and if the place is being developed, people are coming to that area to start building now, how much can you sell the land? Like I said in my previous video, I bought a land around 2018 for 3,000 US dollars, and today 2023, that same area the land is going for between 17 to 20,000 US dollars, just in a couple of, like, let's say 6 to 7 years. So if you cannot build, if you cannot keep the flow of construction building now, don't put the money there and let the money just stay there whilst you are struggling. You won't be happy. So invest the money into lands now. Every year, like I said, every year you can buy a land. Every year after 7 years, you have 7 lands. If you just sell 3 of them, it will put up the same structure that if you would have been hustling. those few years, it will put up that structure, and you will still have another three land or two land just sitting down waiting, to appreciate. So these are the strategies that we are using, and these are things that I am, like I always say, these are things that I'm going through, and I like to share it with everybody so that people will benefit into it. Sometimes people put their business money into construction. They start a business, the business is booming small, and then they just put all the money into building. And when, like I said, when the system revolved or pivot, and their business doesn't go well again, then they are stuck. They cannot move forward. The business is not going, and their project is also not moving. Then they are stuck. This is where people get stranded, and they fall back. So that is it for the builders, and for those that wants to buy. I really don't have much experience when it comes to buying of property. I've never done that before. But what I would do if I should start all over and I don't want to build, what I would do is that I will spend maybe 2 to 3 years saving up my own money, and I'll look for a property, in the capital city. My target is going to be for investment purposes, so it's going to be an apartment because I know I'm not ready to move to Ghana yet. Most of the reason why we want to build and do something in Ghana because we want to go there for pension. So since we are not yet at pension, I'm thinking about investment projects. So I'm going for, an apartment in the city of Accra where I can rent it out for short stay and make money. And since I have half of the money already for the project because I've been saving for the past 3 years, I can get a mortgage, at less rate. We all know how much interest you have to pay on mortgage is huge. So if you have to go on a full mortgage and pay, it's going to be too much. So you can split it 50-50. You pay, out front with your own cash, and then the rest is going to be, on a mortgage, or even if they have a payment plan, then you can go for it, knowing your cash flow. Again, back on the cash flow. So when you do that, what you do is that you look for, I think there are real estate companies that they can manage the property for you. So you just look for some of them, you give it to them to manage it for you. And whilst you are also living in the West, you can also promote that apartment to everybody, to the Ghanaian community, those that wants to visit Ghana. You can promote that apartment to them that they can go and stay there, and just make sure that people are going there. It's always booked up, and I believe this way you are making money. Then you can decide to use that money to go for another apartment, just building up till you are ready to move to Ghana and live there for a longer time. Or then you can also decide that you want to use the profits, the money that is coming, you are generating, to invest into lands, and then you can also start to do your building, and maybe that apartment can be your cash flow. So if you we go back to what I'm saying, it is the same thing, like just waiting for the 5 years, the money that you put into the building that you are waiting, and the building is not going and you are stressed. That money can go into that apartment, the payment plan. I think some of them you just pay half payment, and then you already own the place, and you can already rent it out. You don't have to wait for the 5-7 years. So when you have this kind of cash flow from the apartment, that money can easily go into a new business. It can be transportation, it can be other things that you are interested in, so that you don't stretch yourself out here in the Europe, working. You have to do extra hours in the cold just for you to, make some money and put up a huge building back home where you go for only 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You know, it's not a nice feeling. The stress we go through whilst building is not the nicest experience. So that's why I'm trying to share this tip so people can benefit from. Sometimes people do ask me, hey, how come you go home for 3 months, and you staying there? Yeah, these are some of the things we get ourselves involved in, so that we don't put much pressure on ourselves out here. Me myself, I live in the Netherlands, so I know how it feels working in the cold. I have been there before, so I know what I'm talking about. So these are things, experience that I have shared with you guys. You can choose one or two things, and I believe this will help you, to make the right decision, for yourself. And the last part is going to be about the selling. And the selling, well, I have also not sold anything yet, but I think that with selling, it's all about community. So whilst you are, you know, researching and getting involved into all of those things, you also have to have an exit plan. Like when something happens and you want to sell everything, which people can you go to? So you have to already start knowing where you can sell your house and, all those things. So with selling, it's more about connection and just involving with people. So that's my piece of advice that I will put it out there. And I will say, if you are in your 20s, as I always say, if you're in your 20s and you've begin, with your work, and you want to start with life, these are things that you should, you know look at investment. Just start something small, and by the time you'll be 30, in 10 years time, you have something at least, that you can boast of, or you can just rely on. It's all about having the cash flow. So this brings us to the end of today's episode. If you have anything you want to add up to it, you are welcome. Like I said, I'm not experienced. These are things that some of them I've been through, others not yet. If you are someone that have gone through the buying process and also the selling process, you can share your ideas with us. Let us also learn from your experience. And if you want me to make a video about any topic, you can just put it down there in the comment section. Thanks for staying with me till this far. I really do appreciate your time spent here on the channel, and I will see you in my next episode. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share for more tips. Like do we?